Hi everyone, blessings. I hope that you're all doing well. In this video, I will be discussing how to deal with people you don't like. Now, about a year ago, I made a similar video discussing how to deal with people who don't like us. Now I will be discussing how to deal with people who we don't like. Before we get into this topic, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you're not already a subscriber. Also hit that like button because it's helpful. Also, share this video and my other videos if you enjoy my content, and also feel free to drop me a comment because I do read them and I enjoy the interaction. So now that that's out the way, let's get into our topic at hand: how to deal with people that we don't like, that you don't like. So I want to kind of like approach this video from the angle of this person is in your environment. You've come across this person. You have to work with this person. This person is in your organization. You have to deal with this person in a significant way, this person that you really, really don't like. But you've got to get things done. You want to be able to deal with them in a diplomatic way, in a peaceful way, in a cordial way. So that's the angle that I'm coming at you with in this video. You don't like this person, but you have to deal with this person in some sort of significant way, and you want to know how to do it so you can get things done and so you can accomplish things. So that's how I'm approaching this topic for this video. You don't like the person, but you necessarily can't just bounce and get away from them, right? So that's how we're going to approach it. And there's four things actually that I want you to consider when you come across a person that you really, really don't like, but you have to basically deal with. So that first thing is, what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to ignore them. The first thing is to carefully observe the person. Now, when we come across a person that we don't like or we don't care for whatever reason, the natural reflex is to kind of like recoil and get away from them, right? Or to avoid them at all costs, especially if, you're getting really bad energy, a really negative vibe, they're rubbing you the wrong way, they're pushing your buttons, they're getting under your skin. You don't want to be around that negativity, and I don't blame you. And I don't think you should be around that for long periods of time. But if you're in a situation where you've got to go to work and you've got to feed yourself and pay the bills and take care of your family, right? You've got to get things done. There's something significant you've got to do with this person. This person might be in your friend group, in your social circle, or part of an organization that you're with, and you have to accomplish a goal with that person. You've got to learn how to deal with them. And the number one rule and the number one thing is to carefully observe the person. Watch out for their patterns, the things that they do habitually. Determine what kind of personality type that they have. All of this will be helpful in learning how to cope and deal with that person. So observe them carefully, learn their patterns, learn their personality types. We all have patterns. We all have a personality type. This will be helpful, and kind of like figure out why you don't like this person. I will go into that a little bit more later in this video, but kind of like determine what is it about this person that I don't like. And once you figure that out and you're very clear about that, then you'll be able to come up with a strategy and how to deal with that person. So, for example, I had a situation in the workplace when I was young in my career, and it was like my first real situation of dealing with a person that I had to deal with in a significant way in the workplace, a manager that I had that I really didn't like, whose management style was just awful. And I wasn't alone. There were other people in the office that didn't like this individual as well. So it just wasn't just about me not liking the person, right? So this was a difficult person. And we're going to come across difficult people in our lives, whether professionally, in our personal lives, in our social circles, and just going and coming to different places. We're going to come across difficult people. And part of living a good life and having a successful life is being able to deal with the people who we like, who we enjoy being around, and also being able to successfully deal with the people who we don't like and who we don't enjoy being around. So that's part of the process as well. So going back to this manager, I really didn't like her, and I didn't like her management style. And what she would do, she would come over to my desk and she would literally peer over my shoulder and hover and be that helicopter manager and literally just point to the screen, point at certain things, and just very nitpicky over every little thing that I did, and just very critical without giving me any useful feedback, and just tearing things apart, and everything little thing that I did, they were constantly changing things. It was driving me insane, and just not an overall nice person, just in general, just from being around this individual. And this person was a suspected racist. So I bring that up because we also have to, and if you're picking up different things based on what the person's actions, and because we're all discerning to a degree, right? So if you're picking up different things about a person, the person, you may be picking up that the person is a racist, that the person is misogynist, that the person is homophobic, that the person, has a certain disposition toward, people's social status and in society. So whatever it is, that traits and characteristics that you're picking up about, all of that matters too. So if you're picking it up, it could be true about that person, and that's all useful information in how to deal with them, right? So if there's a character flaw there that you're picking up, if their personality and their pattern, all of that will help you in dealing with them, right? So I came up with a strategy for this manager. I was like, okay, so we have a neurotic, nitpicking helicopter manager. How, and because those are the things, because I basically singled out the things that were getting on my nerves, right? So I was like, okay, so how am I going to combat that and protect myself and create a boundary with this manager and be productive and get my job done? She was actually preventing me from doing an effective job. And I think it was on purpose, right? So if you're in a situation, here's what you got to do. So I took those three things and I was like, okay, how can I counteract that, right? So what I did was I was like, I got to beat her to the nitpick, and I've got to nitpick back. But I'm not nitpicking at her. I gotta give her the details that she's coming over and bothering me about before she has the opportunity to come over and do it. So what I would do, I would comprise the whole report of everything that I was doing. And basically I would either knock on her door, come into her office and give that full report, or when she would come over and try, and I would beat her, I would start talking about everything that I was doing before she had the opportunity to nitpick and ask me about it. And I would go through every minute detail. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to nitpick, we're going to nitpick together, and we're going to waste as much time as possible. After a while, she got tired of that exercise, and she realized that, hey, this is a waste of my time. Let me just go ahead and let her do her job. And that was the goal. I just wanted her to stop hovering, nitpicking, and being a helicopter manager, and just let me do my job. And that, for that particular person, that particular strategy worked for me. So you have to figure out what's going to work with you, but you can't figure out a strategy if you're ignoring the person, if you're running away from the person. I say initially, in order for you to figure out how to deal with them, you got to run straight into the problem and figure out how to solve it, and figure that person out, at least what they're displaying to you, right? The characteristics, the personality trait, right? So if the person is nitpicky, neurotic, passive aggressive, abrasive, if the person is a gossip, whatever it is about the person that you don't particularly care for, you have to determine what it is and then come up with a strategy and how to deal with it. So the number one rule is not to ignore the person. The second thing is when you're dealing with a person that you don't like, and this is going back to what I said earlier about determining what it is about that person that you really, really don't like. You've got to really check yourself. That's the second thing. Check yourself. Check yourself. You want to make sure that you don't dislike this person for trivial, silly reasons, right? Because we have our own things about us. And by checking ourselves, we're actually creating an opportunity for personal growth within ourselves, because maybe it's some sort of unhealed issue we have within ourselves that's making this person, or this person appears to be triggering us because of something that's going on with us on the inside, right? So it might not be the person, it might just be us, right? Or some sort of issue that we have, or some sort of preconceived notion we have about certain types of people, right? So if you're disliking a person for some superficial or reason, or for some reason where it's a characteristic that they can't help, right? Like the color of their skin or their height or something that they can't help, that's something that's trivial and a little silly, then you might want to check yourself, right? You might want to check your own prejudices and what you think about people, and really truly examine yourself. As Dr. King said, we shouldn't judge a person by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So that's kind of like when it comes to really judging people and assessing people. And when we feel within ourselves that we don't like a person, ask yourself, what is it about them that we don't like? So if it's something that's trivial, or that's really superficial, or something that the person can't personally help about themselves, then okay, if you don't want to be around that, that's fine. But I think that's an opportunity for you, and also for me, to grow by asking yourself and actually really checking yourself when it comes to dealing with that difficult person. So what I'm trying to say is that when we dislike a person, and we feel like we dislike a person for whatever reason, it should really be for a legit reason. If it's not a legit reason, and when I say legit reason, I mean by reason of that person maybe have character flaws, maybe they have a poor character, maybe they've done something to us personally, they've come after us, they've attacked us in some way, or they may have a personality type that you don't mesh with, right? So it could be some interpersonal conflict, or maybe the person is a jerk, and maybe the person is just a difficult all around. Those are all legit reasons for not liking a person. But if it's for some superficial reason, or for a characteristic within that person that they can't help, that they were born with, maybe you might want to check yourself, right? And that doesn't mean that you still have to be BFFs with the person, right? Or spend all your time with the person, or really truly be around somebody that you don't want to be around. But I do think it's an opportunity to really examine yourself and figure out, because that self-examination will actually help you. And if you determine that, okay, I'm kind of being petty about this person, and I really don't have a legit reason for disliking this person. This is an issue within me that I need to think about. And this person reminds me of, a parent that didn't treat me well, or reminds me of an ex that I had an issue with. And so that issue within yourself about that person is personal, or trivial, or very surface. I think that's an area for growth. That's why I think it's important for you to check yourself. We all should be checking ourselves when it comes to how we feel about people, because A, it could be an opportunity for growth, and B, if we come across another person with similar characteristics that we don't like them because it's a personal issue that we have, we've got to heal that, because we got to deal with people in life. We got to deal with people in the world, right? So if we're not healed in certain areas, and we haven't checked ourselves, we haven't examined ourselves, then we could be hindering ourselves in our own progress in life, because we haven't dealt with certain personal issues when it comes to certain types of people, right? So if you have certain prejudices, you have certain stereotypes about certain different groups of people, you feel a certain way about men, a certain way about women, you've got to check all of that stuff, and do that self-examination, because that will help you in dealing with people and interacting with people in a better and more successful way. But if you're disliking someone, make sure it's for a really legit reason, right? And if it's not, if it doesn't fall into the legit category, that means that's room for you to grow in an area, and there's an area that you might need some help and some healing in. So for me, checking yourself is an all-around very good thing. We should all do that. Every time we meet someone and we come across that someone that we might not like, or we might be feeling a certain type of way about, first question I want you to ask yourself, why don't I like this person? So number 2, check yourself. Number 3, Once we figured out a strategy and why we don't like the person and it's legit, and we've got our strategy down, now we have to determine the appropriate level of engagement and of contact with that person. So going back to the workplace, because it's a place that we need to be, because we have to eat and pay our bills and we need to make money and earn a living. So there's going to be all types of people in the mix, especially if we're not the boss and we're it's not our business. There's going to be people who are hired there that we might not like or necessarily mesh particularly well with. So you have to determine the level of the appropriate engagement level with that person in order to be successful in dealing with that difficult person, that person that you don't like. So if it's an example in the workplace, so the boundary might be with that person, I'm only going to talk to this person if it's something that's business related. If it's not business related, if it's not anything that's having to do with the clients or having to do with anything that's work related, we don't need to have any further discussions. That could be the boundary, right? We don't have to talk about, have to make small talk or, and I'm not saying, be mean or be rude or, have an attitude toward this person, but you have to figure out that boundary with that person. So the boundary might be, if it's a workplace situation, I'm only going to deal with this person and talk to this person when it has to do with business and workplace situations. We're not going to talk about our weekend and, our families and, our personal hobbies. And we're not going to talk about, the game and sports teams and personal stuff. We're going to keep it very businesslike, because I know this person has a personality or there's something about them that annoys me, and the less interactions with them, the better. So we're going to keep that boundary there. So determine the appropriate level of engagement with that person, set that boundary, and that will definitely help you in dealing with the person that you don't like. And the fourth thing and the last thing is do no harm. Do no harm. Just because you don't like a person, it doesn't give you the right to mistreat them. Don't mistreat the person. You don't have the right to mistreat them just because you don't like them. As a matter of fact, the Bible, if you're a believer and you're a person of faith, the Bible tells us and calls us to love our enemies, right? That doesn't mean that we be a doormat and we have to continually be in the presence of a person who hates us or who wants to do harm to us. It's not what it says, but it does say do no harm to the people, who we might not like, right? So, there have been times where, I've had to be a blessing to people that I didn't like. I had to show care and concern for people who I didn't like, or their ways. I didn't like their ways or their characteristics, right? I even had to show love to people who I didn't particularly care for, right? So it's kind of like we have to, in order to progress and grow spiritually and to progress and grow emotionally and psychologically and as people, in order to be successful, you have to deal with all types of people. But in dealing with that person that you do not like, don't do them any harm. Because first of all, that comes back to you. And second of all, if you're a person of faith, God is going to deal with you on that. You don't have the right to mistreat them, to talk to them any old kind of way. Even if they're a jerk and rude to you, you don't necessarily have to return that energy, right? Definitely stick up for yourself. Definitely set a boundary. Definitely do not, under any circumstances, tolerate anyone's abuse and nonsense, right? But there's a way to do that. You can do that in a tactful and diplomatic way. You can do that in a way of respect. You can do that in a dignified way, right? Sometimes you do have to get up in people's faces and let it be known, hey, we're not about to have that or do that. But once again, that goes back to understanding the person and learning the person and understanding who you're dealing with. And then you'll be able to, basically when they come at you, deal with them in a certain way, and you'll know the appropriate level of pushback with that person. But don't do any harm to the people who you don't like. That's very low vibrational. That's low frequency behavior. And you're better than that. We're better than that. We don't have to stoop to their level, especially if they're a very difficult person and they're maybe the type of person who likes to put people down, and they're just a hard person just in general, just to cope and deal with. But we don't have the right to mistreat people just on the basis of we don't like them, we don't like their attitude, we don't like the things that they do. Okay, that's them. But we have to monitor our behavior and how we interact with them, and that's what God is going to judge us on. How we relate and react to other people and how we treat other people. So it doesn't give us the right to mistreat them. So do them no harm. If they're a hard and difficult person, and if they're doing awful things in the world, they're going to get that back. It's not your job to give them the get back. That is God's job, and God is going to take care of those people, right? But do them no harm, and you'll be blessed by that. Blessed by not necessarily returning that energy. I'm not saying not to defend yourself when it's time to defend yourself, or not to set an appropriate boundary with that person, but do them no harm. I come across people who outright just hate me, or I don't like them, but I'm not going to try to figure out ways and how to exact revenge on them, especially when people do things to me and stuff like that. And God is going to take care of them. I don't necessarily have to do any harm to them. Let me tell you, every last one of my enemies, they got it back, and I didn't have to do anything. God took care of them. So do them no harm, and don't use that as an excuse to come after people because you don't like them. That's not a valid reason, right? So treat people, follow the golden rule. This is the best rule ever. Treat people the way you want to be treated, regardless of how you feel about them. And that's the message. So that's all I wanted to share with you in this video. Take care, God bless, and I will see you in the next one.